I came home to my $520,000 beach house. And my daughter-in-law's family had moved in flushed face ***. The salt air hit me first, that familiar sting I'd loved for 30 years. But when I pushed open the front door of my beach house, the smell was wrong. Cheap air freshener. Cigarette smoke. And something frying in my kitchen. I stood there in the doorway, suitcase still rolling behind me, keys dangling from my fingers like they suddenly didn't belong. Laughter spilled out from the living room. Loud, careless laughter that didn't know I existed. A child shrieked. A man cursed. And then I saw it. My favorite cream sofa was covered in bright orange throw blankets I'd never seen. My grandmother's china cabinet had been shoved into the corner. And sitting on my deck, feet up on my railing, drinking from my favorite wine glass, was a woman I barely recognized. My daughter-in-law, Sophia. But she wasn't alone. I'm Eleanor Thompson. 71 years young, widowed for 8 years, and until that moment, I thought I knew exactly what family meant. I'd raised my son Mark in this very house after his father passed. Paid for it with life insurance, sweat, and 20 years of teaching high school English. $520,000 in today's market, but to me it was priceless. Every wave that crashed outside had heard my prayers. Every sunset had watched me cry, heal, and learn to stand alone. I'd been gone 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks visiting my sister in Arizona while she recovered from hip surgery. I'd told Mark and Sophia I'd be back on the 11th. I even texted them the flight details. Apparently, that was an invitation. Mom? Mark's voice cracked behind me. I turned slowly. My only son stood in the hallway holding a beer, looking like a teenager caught stealing from the cookie jar. Behind him, 3 more people I didn't know spilled out of the guest room. Sophia's mother Rosa, her father Miguel, and her younger brother Diego, who looked about 25 and already had that entitled slouch. Surprise, Sophia said brightly, stepping in from the deck like she was the gracious hostess. We thought it would be nice to have everyone together while you were gone. You know, family bonding. I stared at her. The woman my son had married 4 years ago after a whirlwind romance. Pretty, ambitious, always posting those filtered family photos on Facebook with captions like, "Blessed beyond measure." I had tried. God knows I tried to like her. Bonding, I repeated, my voice flat. In my house. Rosa, Sophia's mother, came forward with a tight smile. Eleanor, honey, you look tired from your trip. Why don't you sit? I made enchiladas. I looked past her. My dining table, my late husband's pride and joy, handcrafted oak, was buried under plastic tablecloths and half-eaten plates. My carefully curated bookshelves now held Sophia's crystals, prayer candles, and what looked like a hookah. Something inside me cracked, but I didn't let it show. Not yet. That first night I barely slept. I lay in the guest room, my guest room, listening to the house I'd poured my heart into creak under the weight of strangers. Diego blasted music until 2 a.m. Rosa and Miguel argued in Spanish about money. Sophia's laughter floated through the walls like she didn't have a care in the world. At 6:47 a.m., I walked into my own kitchen and found Miguel cooking breakfast in his underwear. Morning, suegra, he said cheerfully, using the Spanish word for mother-in-law like we were old pals. Want some chorizo? I turned around, walked back to the guest room, and locked the door. That's when the text started. Mark ***, Mom, please don't make this weird. Sophia's family is going through a tough time. Her dad lost his job, and their apartment had mold. We're just helping for a little while. Me ***, this is my home, Mark. Not a shelter. Sophia ***, Eleanor, with all due respect, Mark said it was okay. We're family. Family helps family, red heart. I stared at that little red heart until my eyes burned. The days blurred into a nightmare of small, sharp disrespects. They moved my late husband's recliner to the garage, because it didn't match the vibe. Rosa reorganized my pantry and threw out my favorite tea because it expired last year. Diego parked his loud motorcycle on my rose bushes. And Sophia? Sophia started redecorating. I found her in my master bedroom one afternoon, my bedroom, holding up paint swatches against the wall I'd painted soft ocean blue the year after my husband died. Seafoam would look better, don't you think? She asked without turning around. This blue is so dated. I stood there in the doorway, heart hammering. Get out of my room, Sophia. She finally turned, all wide-eyed innocence. Eleanor, you're not going to live forever. We have to think about the future. Mark and we're the ones who'll be here when you're gone. The words landed like a slap. That night I sat on the back deck alone, wrapped in a blanket, watching the waves I'd always thought of as mine. Tears came hot and angry. I had never felt so small in my own life. But something else was stirring beneath the hurt. Something sharp and clear. I picked up my phone and made a call I should have made weeks earlier. The tension built like a storm off the coast, ***. Every meal became a battlefield. Rosa would cook dishes so spicy I couldn't eat them, then act hurt when I made a sandwich. Diego brought friends over without asking, kids who left beer cans on the beach access path I'd fought the city to keep private. Miguel started watching TV at full volume in the living room until midnight, Spanish game shows that blared through the walls. Mark avoided me. He'd leave early for his construction job and come home late, smelling of sawdust and excuses. One evening I tried talking to him on the deck. Mark, honey, this isn't right. I love you. But I can't live like this. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom, Sophia's pregnant. The world stopped. 3 months, he added quietly. We didn't want to tell you until we were sure. Her family, they're excited about the baby. They want to help. Help. The word tasted like poison. I should have been overjoyed. A grandchild. My first. Instead I felt a cold dread settle in my bones. Because I knew Sophia. And I knew this wasn't about family. It was about ownership. I started noticing things. Little financial clues. Sophia's new designer bags. Diego's shiny new phone. Rosa's weekly salon appointments. Mark's construction business had been struggling. I knew that much from previous conversations. But suddenly everyone had money for extras. I quietly checked my bank accounts. Everything looked normal. But when I called the property tax office to confirm my automatic payments, the clerk said something that made my blood run cold. Mrs. Thompson, it looks like there's a new authorized user on the account associated with the beach house. Sophia Ramirez? I hung up without another word. The big twist came on a Tuesday, ***. I'd spent the morning at the library, using their computers so no one could track my searches. I met with an old friend. Judge Harlan Whitaker, retired now but still sharp as ever. We'd known each other since Mark was in diapers. He looked over the documents I'd brought. My original deed. The will. The trust I'd quietly set up 2 years ago after Sophia had made one too many comments about, when you pass. Ellie, Harlan said, leaning back, they've been busy. Sophia filed paperwork trying to establish residency. But here's the thing, they didn't know about the irrevocable trust you created. This house isn't just yours. It's protected. They can't touch it. Not without your explicit, notarized permission. I sat there stunned. I had done it on a whim after a particularly nasty argument with Sophia. A quiet safeguard. I'd never told Mark. Harlan smiled. You want them out? We can have them out in 30 days legally. But... He slid a folder across the table. Inside were bank statements. Transfers. My son's business account receiving large deposits from an account belonging to Sophia's father. And then smaller transfers back out to Sophia. They've been using your address for some creative financing, Harlan said carefully. Looks like they might have used the equity in conversations with lenders. Nothing fully illegal yet, but enough to cause problems. I closed the folder, hands shaking. They hadn't just moved in. They had tried to take everything. The emotional climax built over 3 brutal days, ***. I said nothing at first. I let them keep thinking I was the frail, overwhelmed old woman sleeping in the guest room. Then, on Friday night, they threw a party. A full-blown house party to celebrate the baby. My deck was full of Sophia's friends. Music thumped. Someone had moved my husband's old workbench to make room for a beer pong table. Diego was smoking on the beach path. I walked into the middle of it wearing the same dress I'd worn to my husband's funeral. Simple black. Pearls. The music didn't stop immediately. But conversations died as people noticed the old woman standing there. Sophia saw me first. Her hand went protectively to her still flat stomach. Eleanor, this isn't a good time. Mark looked panicked. Mom. I raised my voice. Not yelling. Just clear. Strong. The voice I used to use when students thought they could disrespect me in class. Everyone needs to leave. Now. A few people laughed nervously. Rosa stepped forward, all fake sweetness. Eleanor, you're embarrassing us. I looked straight at my son. Mark, did you know your wife tried to add herself to my property tax account? Did you know they've been telling lenders this is their house? The silence that fell was deafening. Sophia's face went pale. That's not, I was just trying to help with paperwork. I pulled out the folder and held up the trust documents. This house is in an irrevocable trust. My name. My rules. You have 30 days to vacate. All of you. Rosa started crying. Miguel cursed. Diego looked ready to fight. But Mark just stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Mom, he whispered. The baby. The baby will have a grandmother who still has a home, I said, voice breaking for the first time. But not like this. Never like this. The next weeks were war, ***. They tried everything. Tears. Guilt. Threats. Sophia even went to the local paper with a sob story about elder abuse and a heartless mother-in-law kicking out a pregnant woman. A reporter actually called me. I invited her to the house. Showed her the damage. The cigarette burns on my deck. The missing jewelry. The way they'd painted over my husband's study without asking. The story never ran. Mark came to see me alone on the final day before the sheriff's notice would be enforced. He looked terrible. Thin. Eyes red. Sophia's family went back to their old place, he said quietly. Her dad found work again. Sort of. I nodded, sitting on my deck. Watching the sunset paint the ocean gold. Are you leaving her? I asked. He shook his head. She's carrying my child. But I'm opening my eyes, Mom. I should have listened sooner. I reached out and took his hand. It was calloused from years of construction work. My little boy's hand, all grown up and broken. You're always welcome here, I told him. But only you. Not them. Not until they learn what respect means. 6 months later, ***. The beach house is mine again. I painted the walls back to ocean blue. My husband's recliner is back in the living room. The roses are recovering. Sophia had a baby girl. They named her Elena, after me, apparently. Mark brings her over twice a month. Just the two of them. I rock my granddaughter on the deck while the waves sing the same song they sang when I first held Mark. Sophia's family never came back. Last I heard, Rosa tells people I'm a bitter old woman who hates Latinos. I let her have her story. Truth has a way of surfacing eventually. Sometimes Mark sits with me after the baby falls asleep. I was scared, he admitted once. Scared of being a failure. Scared of not providing. Sophia made it seem like you were the obstacle. I smiled sadly. Fear makes fools of good men. He nodded. I'm trying to be better. The last sunset of the story isn't dramatic. It's quiet, asterisk asterisk. I stand on my deck, 72 now, wind in my silver hair, watching the sky turn every shade of rose and gold. The house behind me is peaceful again. Paid for. Protected. Mine. I think about the woman who came home to find strangers in her sanctuary. The woman who almost let love and guilt cost her everything. And I whisper to the waves what I wish every mother, every grandmother, every woman who built something beautiful could hear. Your home is your legacy. Never let anyone, even family, convince you that loving them means disappearing. Because in the end, I didn't just get my house back. I got myself back. And that, my friends, is worth more than $520,000 and every ocean view in the world.